everybody, I'm Manos, and this time I have a co-host, not Servo and Lindsay, but another YouTuber named GothamGirl. Say hi, GothamGirl.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
That's great. It's actually great having you here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm excited to get back into YouTube, so I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to be on your show and all that jazz.
Thank you. It's great having you here. We are here, and we're going to talk about All-Star Superman, the latest Bruce Timm produced animated film that came directly to DVD just this past week or something like that. And it's of course based on Grant Morrison and what's the artist name? Frank Whiteley. Frank Whiteley. Their work. And yeah, here we go. It's the new one. I don't remember who plays Superman in this one. They have so many Supermen.
Yeah, I mean, you have Tim Daly, obviously, from the original cartoon. He's just absolutely amazing. But I'm trying to think who was the voice in this, because I was actually very surprised. Was it James Dent?
I think so, yeah. James Dent.
Yeah. I was actually quite impressed with him as Superman. It takes a lot for me to measure up to the Tim Daly Superman, because that's what I grew up with. That was the voice of Superman throughout my whole childhood. But I was actually very surprised at how the performance that he gave. It was very believable, I think, as especially Superman at that point in the for All-Star Superman, the story where he's basically getting ready to die. He did a very good job.
I loved Tim Daly's work in that. It actually took me a season to get used to George Newbern as Superman on the Justice League show.
Yeah.
About around season 2, I kind of get used to him. I love this story. I do wonder how much in real life this was influenced. I just saw a documentary about Grant Morrison not too long ago, and it discusses how a lot of his life has influenced his major stories, and I do wonder how much of his father getting older. I don't know if his father's passed on, but I know this was definitely some thoughts that were going through his head when he made this this graphic novel, the All-Star Superman comic. So I mean, it's so wonderful the way a character realistically puts things in order. And I do wonder, I don't know, maybe this is kind of like way too late to even think about this. Like, if the Death of Superman story was done in a similar fashion, rather than one big fight all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, you see in Superman, he die or pseudo-die, like in Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, or like when he's fighting Doomsday and stuff like that. But this is he knows that he's going to die, so it's a very different look into like the conscience of Superman, of, you know, accepting his fate as being mortal and coming to an end, and what that means for the rest of the world after that.
I also, I can't remember anybody who played any parts besides maybe Ed Asner as Perry White. I do know that Christina Hendricks from Mad Men played Lois Lane. And I've never seen Mad Men. I hear it's great. And
it's a fantastic show. I was iffy about her as Lois Lane originally. That Lois Lane felt a little bit off to me. But as the story progressed, I really came to like her as Lois Lane.
She had a really natural voice for it, I think.
Yeah. It was very smooth and believable that would be the voice of Lois Lane. Like, there's some Lois Lanes that are so close to the mark, and there's some that are just so off. There's so many just versions of Lois Lane out there.
Yeah.
To get one that's actually, okay, I can see this. Yeah, this makes sense. It's hard to come by, and I think she did a really nice job with that as well.
I agree. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I enjoyed this characterization of Lois as well, I thought. And also, there's quite a bit of Grant Morrison's strange and perverse humor here and there.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Olsen's in a dress for no reason.
Yeah, just no reason. It's like, it kind of makes a little bit more sense if, like, you've read the novel, but, like, if you haven't, you're just like, oh, okay, and they don't make any mention of it, like, any other time, and they don't explain it at all through the cartoon. So, like, I was watching it with my friend who hadn't read it. He's just like, oh, okay, is that normal? I'm like, not. Don't worry. cross-dressers just running through, the streets of Metropolis and the Daily Planet.
Oh, man. And what did you think about the things that were missing from the story, like the Bizarro stuff?
I mean, I felt Bizarro is one of my favorite characters, but it felt like it didn't have to be there. Like, it wasn't lacking as a story as a whole in the long run. I would have loved to see Bizarro. I think the DC Animations version of Bizarro is a lot of fun and very entertaining to watch. Maybe they could have, instead of having, the Samson and all that stuff, focusing so much on that, they could have, thrown Bizarro in, but I was actually okay with it. I thought I was going to be more upset because All-Star Superman is one of my favorite Superman stories of all time, but it just had a very concise story pattern. It was a little rocky at the beginning. You weren't sure what was going on, but once it hit its stride, it just kept going and had a very constant flow and pattern to it. So I was okay with it.
I think I was very impressed by the fact that the big problem with the Bruce Timm directed video films has been consistently the 70-minute time frame that they have.
Yeah.
And I think you've seen some films do well with it and some not so well. And I think this one did. I think this one did very well with it. I think they knew what to cut from the film, and they didn't turn it into anything else, like the Superman Doomsday one. I think that was almost a completely different story, practically.
Exactly.
And this one, they were at least... My feeling is, yes, you'll have to cut, but as long as the message of the story, as long as the rhythm of the story, as long as it's recognizably Grant Morrison's story...
Exactly.
I think if you can do that, you produced a successful film, which I think they did.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it kept a lot of the emotional content of the original stories. I love the scene where Clark Kent is interviewing Lex Luthor and talking about Superman and saying, oh, you two could have been best friends. And it's just yeah, but he'll die first, and all that stuff. There was a lot of that great emotion that you see in a lot of Grant Morrison's work that a lot of time doesn't make it into the DC animated movies sometimes. So I was very happy to see that.
I was, and I remember thinking, God, if only Superman Returns was anything like this film.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking throughout the entire thing. I probably am one of the only comic book fans out there that is okay with Superman Returns. I'm yeah, it's a good film, but it just was missing that emotional element. The entire time I was watching this, I'm this is 1,000 times better. I'd much rather pay $10 to go see this than what I saw. But I was very impressed. So I do have a question to ask you about the animation style.
Sure, shoot.
There have been a lot of conflict over the past since Batman Superman Apocalypse came out.
Yeah.
With the Such a Handsome Base Superman. And they kind of moved away from it in this one, but you could definitely tell in the Superman when he was Superman. It had that very handsome, a little bit too handsome to the point it's creepy type style. I watched the DC Comic Collections the same night I watched the All-Star Superman, and the Superman that's in the Captain Marvel story I think was absolutely beautifully drawn. So what is your impression on the Such a Handsome Face Superman, and where do you fall on the divide?
I definitely think that, well, in this particular case, I think they did a good kind of blurring of his style, the original art style, and what works well with the Bruce Timm house as far as animation, because that's one of the things that started the Bruce Timm style, was versus a lot of comic book animation before the Batman series came out. There was all this attention to detail to make it sort of look like a comic, like the G.I. Joe show, for instance, is a good example of what that used to look like, or the Amazing Spider-Man show. But you would get a lot of sloppy animation, just because of the budget and time. I mean, watch any old episode of Transformers. I mean, for God's sakes. So I mean, it looks cleaner and it's easier to animate, so therefore there's less mistakes. So an artist it's interesting now that they're doing films based on art style that they would never be able to do, like like the Superman, Batman, Supergirl film, based on Michael Turner, and now Frank Quietly, whose art looks beautiful, but boy, I mean that would take millions and millions of dollars to do that as an animation because it's so highly detailed and realistic.
Right.
But as far as the creepy face, I think they did a fairly good job, especially when he's in his Clark Kent
No, I agree.
mode. I think they pulled. I think one of the successful things art-wise about that book is how Quietly was able to make Clark look passably different than Superman, where I could actually look at that and believe that people wouldn't know that that's fucking
Exactly.
Superman right there. And I think they were able to play that off in the animation. I thought that was I thought that was one of the things that was a good key to the success for the film. In this film, yeah, I mean, I think it's all those lines on his chin, like
Yeah.
like make or
Just
break
has
the
this
creepiness. Where he's like a stone statue running around.
Exactly.
I didn't particularly like when they added those lines on his face for the Justice League show. Actually, I don't know if that was a sticking point for you.
I mean, for the Justice League, I think it's interesting to see how the animation style changed over the 2 seasons and stuff, and I probably prefer the second season animation style because it's just more in tune to what had just come off of, like, with Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series. But, no, I agree with this movie. They did a fantastic job making the distinction between Clark Kent and Superman. Like, one of my favorite things that they added was they had Clark Kent be pigeon-toed in some scenes. Like, he was just walking around like he was Tommy Pickles, and I'm just like, this is absolutely fantastic. Like, there really was, and like you said, you could believe that people would not be able to see, like, oh, wait, if we took off the glasses...
Unbelievable! Because
who knew?
Because he almost, when he's slouching around like that, he almost looks like a fat guy.
Yeah, it's a completely different body posture and just, like, the way he acts. Like, it really did, and I thought that was one of the amazing jobs they did with this animation in particular. That they hadn't been able to get quite as well in other Superman-related features that they put out.
Well, let's see, I think I'm kind of done. Do you have anything else to wrap up with?
Nope.
Alright. So, anyway, I love this film. I think GothamGirl loved the film, too. And I personally would give this film 5 Ram Chips. How about you? Do you want to give any Ram Chips out?
Yeah, I give it 5.
Excellent. Hey, 5 and 5. And so if you haven't seen it yet, we definitely recommend it. It's it's easily one of the better of the DC animated films. So I think that's it. Do you wanna tell Lindsay? You wanna do the honors?
Push the button.